before attempting any repair. To be a part of the show, call 866-594-4150. Under the Hood is produced by Prairie House Productions. All content is the property of Nordstrom's Automotive Incorporated and may not be used without our permission. Copyright Nordstrom's Automotive, Inc. Now, let's go under the hood with the Nordstrom's Motor Medics.
Welcome to the Under the Hood Show. We are glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Thanks for joining us under the hood.
Shannon Nordstrom is here to do the same.
Welcome, hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so we can help you tune up.
I'm Chris Carter here to answer your calls at 866-594-4150. 866-594-4150. Our last show in the studio before we take the show on the road.
Yeah, I'm glad you finished that.
Yeah,
before,
that made me nervous. What happened to something I don't know?
You're like, right on.
Before christened Oktoberfest this Saturday at the Shrine in downtown Sioux Falls.
Listen to you.
Yeah, I'm trying to shoehorn that in. If you're not doing anything Saturday, we're having Oktoberfest at the Shrine downtown Sioux Falls. Okay, yeah. We're going to be in Arizona next week.
Yeah, we are. We're going to be down at Barrett Jackson, their first fall auction. You should check it out if you're in the area. If you're not, get a ticket now and get down there and come see us. Come see the auction. It's not all about $1 million cars. There may be some that are up in that range, but there's going to be a ton of cars that are in that like $10,000 range. There's a lot of great stuff at the other auctions they have besides the giant one that rolls across the stage. Even then, you see some cars that go for way less than you would think.
I have watched the auction where you're like, oh, this one's going to go for 60, 70,000, and it goes for high 20s.
Yeah, and you're
But,
like,
but what you haven't done at that point is seen what's underneath that car.
Sure.
Because, I mean, a lot of the really savvy buyers, they're there and they look, and some of those cars look amazing, and they are amazing, and some of them look amazing and they're maybe okay.
Right, right. Yeah.
Or they're a 20-year-old restore that is going to need some work or that sort of stuff.
They went by and they did at the pre-auction. They've inspected the cars. They've had their people go. So let's say Jay Leno. He typically doesn't show up to the auction. Sometimes he might, but he's not usually there bidding on a car. He's usually just enjoying the show. It's a lot of work to do that. You want to go enjoy it. But he'll send his people, and they'll look and check out a car, and they'll say, what do you think this should go for? Well, let's run the numbers. Oh, those numbers don't match. Oh, they really don't match. This thing's pretty bad, but it's cool because it's complete and it's what I'm looking for.
Right.
We can bid on it, but this is a $20,000 car, not a
$125,000 car.
And sometimes I see a $28,000 car and I'm disappointed because the last one went for $800,000. They're just different. You just don't always hold those both in your head.
Or if you're a billionaire, Chris, and your buddy there, Elon Musk, is there too, and you're both wanting the same car, and that car's worth $100,000,
right?
That car may go for $800,000 just because you're going, no, it's mine, no, it's mine, no, it's mine. I don't care. It's pocket change.
Ego.
Speaking of which, before we get to any automotive news, 866-594-4150. I did get an email this morning that it is just it's our last chance to invest in Elon's energy company. And after today, they're shutting off investment. So we should click on the link today and invest in it.
This was, and it came to you via email?
Yeah. Yep. So
was it in a batch of emails that you received this morning?
I think so. Yeah. If I have to leave, I have to get that investment in quick.
What's the name of the company they said you're going to invest in?
X Energy.
X Energy.
Yeah.
They already have an Excel Energy around here.
And when you hover over the link, it says something in Arabic.
Yeah,
or something.
I didn't understand. It's technical.
Indian.
It's too smart for me. I just gave him my money. I don't want to have to look into it.
Goes to some prince in
Zimbabwe. Barrett Jackson. This is relevant to our trip to Barrett Jackson. My wife, as you guys know, has threatened all of your lives because I did sell my car, and she said, this does not mean you go to Barrett Jackson and find a replacement. And she said, especially Doug, if I buy a car, Doug is in the most trouble.
He is, because we all said no.
Because right, because she believes that you guys would lead me, you would give me good advice.
So this is a vote of confidence for Doug in her
the
selection,
moral-
the moral
the
selection
moral-
between
yeah.
the group.
She trusts you guys as far as cars. If I were going down there to buy a car,
As far as she can throw a
she
car.
would be all for you guys advising me. But she is not for you advising me when I'm not supposed to buy a car. She is for Doug advising me to listen to my wife.
So if I read this right, if you happen to stray from what you're supposed to do, Doug is the most likely target?
Yes.
Okay.
Doug is most responsible.
Okay. That makes me feel good.
But what if we find a really good one?
But what if?
That's
Right.
that's what FaceTime is for.
That's what I have to. I think it'll depend on the car. If I found the car that she wants, I think she'd be more amenable to it. We'll
Like
see.
a 66 Mustang?
Yeah.
Red convertible?
866-594-4150. What has caught your attention in the automotive world?
There was a massive 500,000 vehicle recall put out. We always talk about these recalls.
But a couple things, but that's one of them.
Yeah, and it's for GM products and
I think it's a load of crap.
Escalades and make sure we're talking about the same
Oh,
one.
no, not the Escalade. I'm talking about the
Yes.
diesel one.
No, this is Suburbans, this is Tahoes,
Okay.
Yukons, and it's quite a reach, and it was a big headline for something that I thought wasn't as big when I read it.
Maybe I don't know this one.
Yeah, and it had
I
to
don't.
do with an over-the-air software update, if it could be done, so it was 2023 and newer, and the low brake fluid warning system will not work properly if you're low on brake fluid, and it could cause someone to not know they're low on brake fluid and possibly not have their brakes in the event of an accident. It is a reach of a reach of a reach. So they have to go in and do software programming to be able to fix whatever's not quite right on the low brake fluid illumination system. Now, back in the day of the cars that we'll see at Barrett-Jackson, some of them, this consisted of a sensor on a master cylinder or in a brake proportioning valve that told you that you had no pressure or no, and it was physical and it was hardwired.
Yep.
And it was a grounded circuit. This is now being done via a network and a BCM and a whatever else is involved. Probably the analog brake controller is involved. I mean, who knows what all is involved? But
The way they do stuff now is just so crazy, and some of it's stupid. I get, if you add a system to something like this, it can break. The old system, it doesn't usually break, but I wonder what the percentage is if they say, oh, we got this new system because it's so much better, sliced bread. How many of them break because it's the new system?
Right.
I've got a phone on my desk. You pick up the receiver, you answer it, right? Dial tone, you hang it up, it hangs up. Then you got a headset. The pick up the receiver and hang up hasn't worked in months. Just, click, 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 nothing. It's dead. So, of course, I call over the guy, say, hey, Nick, phone doesn't work on this thing. I'd like it to work because it's there. And sometimes I pick it up to hang up the headset. Give him a call. So I call our guy. He says, oh, yeah, that's real common. I'll just push a software update to the phone. There we go. How's it working now? Oh, now it works. It's like, if that was a regular switch in there, I wouldn't have this problem. My phone would not have broke.
But if it did, you'd have to get a shovel and
I'd have to get a new
ladder
phone.
and people.
But just think about how many people that are listening to this show right now for automotive advice, they're out there trying to self-diagnose a broken thing on their vehicle that's in this era of new technology, and they would buy a new phone switch.
Right.
Because
That's what I was after, and I'm an electronics
because
guy.
the switch didn't work. What else would be the part? You'd buy the part that doesn't work.
And sometimes I could click it a whole bunch of times and it would work, so I assumed it was a switch, right?
Yeah, so people would go out and buy that, and then they would say, well, that didn't fix my problem.
Right.
Now I need another one. You gave me a bad one, and it creates tension, and you guys stink. You don't give me good parts. And so many times it is.
I know where he's going.
So many times it is just this. It's just, people are not aware. I'm not aware of how this stuff all works.
I bought a transfer case and it didn't fix my problem. So I returned it and got another one and returned it and got another one from a different person, and it still doesn't work. You guys are awful. Did you program it? Well, why should I have to program it? I've never programmed one. When was the last time you put one in? Well, I don't know, 1986. Or even worse, something smaller that they would assume, like a window switch. I don't have to program a window switch. It's a switch or a dash button for something. Yes, a lot of it has to be programmed. They have different, I just ran into this morning. A mouse and keyboard, wireless. Everybody's got one, right? Most of the time, you don't have the wires anymore. You don't want all those cords. If your mouse breaks and you throw it away and they give you a new mouse, you got to program it, right? It's got to be paired. If you get a new Bluetooth headset, new earbuds for your phone, you got to pair them to your phone. Everything is programmable now. Something so simple has to be programmed so it operates correctly.
I do have to say, I have a hand. I want to give a little bit of kudos to the Bluetooth people. They've gotten way better on everything.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, you roasted the Bluetooth people early on.
Yeah, it was such a process, and now it pretty much works.
I've got 2 Bluetooth devices, and I noticed one I can get about 200 feet from my phone, and the headset works perfectly. The other one, 30 feet, and it starts crackling, and that one's 15 years old.
Yeah, I had a problem the other day, and I'm like, oh, this is Bluetooth 1. I'll give up on it. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. 866-594-4150.
Be sure to visit our website for news, contests, and previous shows at underthehoodshow.com. Welcome back, everybody. It's time to get back under the hood with the Motor Medics.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's talk to Randy. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Randy, what can we do for you?
I have a 1978 Lincoln Mark V that's been overheating, and I can spin the engine fan when it's turned off.
Mm-hmm.
Is that normal?
Yes. Depends on how easy it turns.
Is that the one with the big doors?
It's the one with, like, we're debatable whether it's the world's longest door or not. It's probably within an inch if it's not.
I know it's not correct for the song, but it's as big as a whale. Wrong car. I know. I'm admitting it, but well, that there is a thermostatic fan clutch on the behind that fan blade, and so when you grab it, it will spin. But there is supposed to be thermostatically controlled if it's working properly inside, so that as the temperature changes, the coiled spring inside of there will change the tension of that spring to allow it to spin faster when it needs to and spin slower when it needs to based on temperature. So we used to sell a lot of those back in the day when folks had fan clutch. Now, a lot of the new big diesel trucks and stuff still use those, but now they're electronically controlled at the same time. I think they started that. The first one I saw in a passenger vehicle for me was like the Trailblazers. They came out with that.
Oh, yeah.
In 2002, they started that. And everybody's like, what's going on here?
And they would float. They just hung there with the wire on them.
Yep.
And if they would ever lock up, they would spin and rip the wires out of the harness.
Kind of a bad deal. So I would think that there's a possibility that could be a problem, but you've got to make sure you've got good airflow in that car.
Yeah.
You got to make sure you got good coolant flow in that car with the radiator, with an older radiator like that. There's a lot of factors that can make that thing get hot in a hurry if they're not maintained.
If you can put one finger on it and give it a little spin like the Wheel of Fortune, and it spins around for 30 seconds very easily,
you land on bankrupt.
It's probably bad. Bankrupt. But if you can spin it like the Wheel of Fortune and it goes around like one half a spin or just even one and stops, and you spin it as fast as you can without the thing going faster than your finger and giving you a slice. I've done that. Then it's too weak. Something's broken. I've never seen one spin like it was a bicycle tire you're trying to spin and just keep going that was not bad. They should have some resistance in them to a point. You kind of know after you've spun a few, but it should definitely not spin like a bicycle tire that's upside down.
Just free wheel.
We do need to quiz you a little bit here. How hot is it? I mean, let's define what you mean by getting warm. We need to maybe know a little more here too.
Well, there's not a gauge for it. It's just the light that comes on. And a couple of weeks ago, the light came on, and one of my battery cables, the covering started melting.
Oh, that's hot. Doesn't sound related.
That's interesting. Yeah,
The battery cable.
I'm trying to remember where that route's at.
Well, I think that plastic on there.
Positive battery cable, not the negative.
It would have to get pretty. Is it touching the radiator? Does it run across the top of the housing there?
No, but it was real close, and everything under the hood was. I could barely touch it.
Okay, so it was physically hot because I wanted to make sure you weren't also having some sort of electrical fault that was.
In general, melting is hot.
Well, I was just thinking to get that hot, you got to get pretty hot, like 300 degrees under that hood.
Because that's a big old 460 in there, probably.
I think it's got the bigger one.
Well, that's about as big as they made.
Then
it's the big block 460 in there, most likely, or I would think
400M or 460.
Yeah,
probably a 460 and a 70. Yeah, it's a Mark, so it's probably a 460. It's a big engine.
So it's a tough engine. They can put up with a little heating, but not
short
too
term.
hot. So it didn't do it again after that?
Well, so we took a forward-looking infrared to the radiator, and that was all pretty much the same. And I just haven't got another chance to work on it.
Have you drove it since then?
Strange. Yes, I have.
And did it heat up? Okay, just took a short trip. Yeah, if you're getting that hot, you've got that makes me nervous that and the coolant level now that it's cooled off was good.
Yep, the coolant level was fine.
And it never boiled over?
No, nothing, and no.
There's two things I would start with on this car. Just because of the age, I would go get yourself a Motorrad thermostat for it. It's one of our partners that we use in a lot of stuff, and they're continuing to expand where you can get them at. They just have a very good control in their heat motor on their thermostat, so they'll get the engine up to operating temperature faster, but also when it gets to that temperature, they'll keep it cooler like it should. And if you get a fail-safe one, it will fail in the open position, so make sure you get one of those. That's number one. And number two, put a fan clutch on it. Fan clutches are not that expensive, lots of room under that hood, easy to replace. I would do those two items because either one of those can lead to a mechanical overheating type issue. And since you've scanned the radiator, you're probably pretty good there. Not a bad idea to flush the cooling system. Also, you're pulling the thermostat out. You don't know how old the coolant is in there. Flush the thing, because if you've got garbage in that block and stuff, it's going to cut down. Let's say it cuts down your cooling percent by 10%. Well, if you're only overheating by 6 or 7% and you've lost 10% of your cooling, you're running that area if you're at slow speed. So we use peak antifreeze in the radiator, Motorrad thermostat, that fan clutch. You pick one. They're all usually pretty decent. There's not one that's better than another one that we've seen. I'm trying to think of who even makes those right offhand. But if you get one like the Hayden is a really big. They've been around forever. They use them on some of the factory cars. Thermo makes one, and there's a bunch of different ones. But just pick out your favorite parts store. Around here, Sturdivant's carries all those items, the Motorrad and the Peak, and they'll carry the fan clutches. I'm sure they're going to be on the shelf for that. So, I would start with that and then drive it and see what it does. But monitor your temp. The other thing you can get for this is a gauge.
Okay,
a gauge would be great. You got a light.
Yeah.
So if you put a gauge under the dash, let's say you're driving that thing around, Chris, and all of a sudden you go, "Whoa, I'm at 224 degrees." Before that light comes on, I'm going to shut this thing down and find out why I'm overheating.
What did your barometer say when you were scanning it for temperature?
Like 190.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But
that doesn't make any sense.
It may not have been overheating if he's got a thermostat that was stuck.
Yeah.
And it shot way up and then it came back down. I mean, he could have one that's sticking part of the time. That happens.
Berkeley One Classic. Quick guess. I say red.
Black.
Blue.
What color's your car?
Baby blue.
All right, stay on the line. Doug Mashuk, our producer, will get you a hoodie. Just give him your size and your address, and we'll send one out.
And if
from
you're
our partners at Berkeley One Classics,
listening to the show and you're under, say, 40, They just used to do that. Cars just used to get super hot, and you'd be sitting on the side of the road because it was hot out.
There's
sometimes.
still signs: turn off air conditioner.
Yeah.
Reduce speed going up hills.
And I Googled it. The 1978 Lincoln Mark V was under 5,000 pounds. It came down for that model year, and it is the longest two-door coupe Ford ever sold.
There you go.
19 feet, 1 inch.
Ow.
That's the same size as my truck.
Yeah, dually crew cab.
Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. You can also watch the show on our YouTube channel. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel and join the Hoodie Fan Club at underthehoodshow.com, you could win a hoodie.
Like Janelle Caffrey, congratulations from our friends over at Universal Technical Institute, UTI.edu, and Berkeley One Classic, celebrating 50 years of protecting collector cars.
It's a good idea. Go to UTI and get out into the field because it's changing. I think now is this true? Is this a safe thought that I have that it's more? This is now a time of change in the vehicle industry as much as any ever, probably more.
Yeah, they're switching around, so they push towards electric. There was a big drive to that, and you know, a lot of it had to do with current administration and just politics. It's just the way things go. You'll have cycles up and down, but before the end of the cycle, there you saw the pushback, and they're already like, yeah, no. And now the big thing is everybody seems to be talking about, we need some electrics, we need some gas, we need some diesel, we need some hydrogen. Let's just mix it all up. Maybe it's a 10% blend of one and 90% gas. We don't know, whatever it is, but there's been a lot of shift. But we went internal combustion, electric, EV. Now we're switching back towards. So there was a change. The gas, they were slowing down on their improvements on miles per gallon and emissions because they knew they weren't going to have to meet it anymore because we're going all electric, right? I mean, Volvo was the first one that said, we're going to be all electric very soon.
We're carrying the banner out front.
And GM, we're going to do it by 20, whatever it is. And okay. And then it started switching back. So now they're like, now we got to make these cars clean. So now it's a whole technology, Chris. You're right. So UTI will help you out with that because they're going to be changing these systems and changing engine designs. They're talking about the new Silverados already and how their engines are going to be different and more efficient and miles per gallon. It kind of, it's impressive to me when I see them talking about full-size trucks approaching 30 miles per gallon with an internal combustion engine. No matter which engine they do it with, that's pretty impressive for a big truck that gets better mileage than some of the cars you and I have owned, It's
Saw a commercial during something I was watching for a Kia, I think it was a Kia, turbo hybrid Carnival. Isn't it a Kia Carnival, their minivan?
Yeah.
And they were pushing hard on this advertisement about how great this turbo hybrid Kia Carnival was going to be. So I'm assuming they're putting it together with a nice, strong, turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. And then they're putting a hybrid system behind it. And they're going to make themselves a nice little package to replace what maybe was going to be a Kia electric Carnival that they've changed plans on. I mean, most of these platforms have got architecture in them to kind of go both ways as they've designed the new platforms. We saw that with the C8 Corvette when they introduced it in 2020, and people started looking at it and said, they can put an electric motor right there. They got provisions for it. And what do they do? They made the E-Ray. And so I think that nowadays they've got this stuff set up. I do get nervous when I see that, how quickly they're switching technologies back and forth, what that does for the repair industry in the long term, and then what that does for the...
So what about support? Yeah,
support, reliability. I mean, do they really have this all figured out? They're switching so quick? I'd like to think so. But boy, there's a lot of changes going on, and it's going to be a challenge for the repair industry, and UTI graduates, they'll be right on top of it.
866-594-4150. Let's go to Louisiana and talk to Doc. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Doc, what can we do for you?
Good morning.
Morning.
I've got an 03 Camry. 501,000 miles.
Hey, there we go. Half
right.
million. That's awesome. Did you wait to call until it got to 501?
So I've called y'all once before, but I did so much talking I didn't give you time enough really to answer my question.
All right.
So we'll try not to do that this time. I got a P0442 code. That's come up, in the past, obviously, since it's 501,000. Unfortunately, the OEM gas cap replacement has not turned the code off. About 15 years ago, I had the same issue, and we replaced the fuel neck, which solved the problem until this past weekend. So I'm guessing I'm looking at something with the canisters and whatnot. When I went to the Irish Auto Parts store,
That's funny.
I'm not sure if I'm supposed to.
Oh, that just caught both of us off guard. All of us
That's
off
good,
guard.
yeah.
Good. Yeah, there you go.
AutoZone guys, but they gave me three things that are the next
Sure.
possible thing. The canister, the vacuum switch, and the canister solenoid. So, I looked at the prices on those aftermarket, for non-OEM parts, and they're crazy. I haven't even called the price OEMs yet, but I suspect those are equally as insane.
Oh, yeah.
My neighbor, who is a mechanic, suggested that I replace the switch first because it's right there under the hood, and the other two are, by the gas tank.
Yep.
So I got a couple questions, and I'll just rattle them off and shut up. Do you have an opinion on which of the three is most likely, or should I fix all three? Your thoughts on when I do go to replacing the hoses that are attached to those, because there might be a pinhole leak in those, and your thoughts on OEM parts versus, a Dorman or something like that.
The aftermarket parts are going to be great. If you put any Dorman product on there, Dorman's one purpose in business, aside from customer service, and if number two doesn't work, see number one, because it's customer service. They want to build a part that is going to work. Their prime directive is to take an OEM part that has a problem, a known problem, and make it better.
An OE fix.
Yeah, re-engineer it, an OE fix. We see manifolds that are thicker. We see valves that switch better. They're made better. We see axles with better bearings on them. Lots of things like that. There are electronics with better circuit boards, better sealed, so you don't have their throttle bodies are double sealed, and so they don't have a problem with moisture intrusion and things like that. So aftermarket parts, definitely the way to go. I mean, what do race car drivers do? They don't race these big races all over the country with stock factory parts. They are aftermarket parts. Even if they're a factory part, it's an aftermarket part because the factory doesn't sell it to put on your street car. So you've got to build something stronger and better. Now, there are places you can get cheap parts. If you get the more gooder parts off of Amazon, they're no good. They're less gooder, I guess. But they're available. Cheap stuff's available. Get a quality name brand part, like a Dorman Products part. If you're looking at closure caps and stuff for, let's say, your fuel cap and things like that, Motorrad. Those are good quality aftermarket parts that are engineered for that one purpose. They're not covering a multi-thing. They're doing that, trying to fix your problem. But as far as fixing it, that's where I would probably head to Amazon, and I would get yourself a cheap smoke machine, $40 to $60. And you could use it for a party favor later if you want, I guess, and make fog with it. I don't know. But you hook that thing up, get that, and then the 12-volt battery out of one of your favorite cordless tools. You hook the smoke machine up, and you hook it to that evap line under the hood, right at the engine. And you can tell, you look at your service manual and see, now this purge valve is off until the computer commands it on to let the gas flow through that tube in that system, which is going to cause your 442 if any one of those systems are off. It's not a cool Oldsmobile. It's a problem with the thing. No Berkeley Classic here. So I hook it to the line right in the engine. And if I've got smoke flowing through the valve on the engine with it not turned on, I know that valve is bad, 100%. So I'm going to get a new one. But now if nothing goes through it and I use my little 12-volt battery out of my cordless drill and I hook power up to that solenoid and it clicks on and it flows, I'm good. It clicks off when I remove power and it's off, then I know that part's good. I can do that with all my valves. If it doesn't click and come on when I apply power, I need to replace the valve. So I've got the one up on the engine. I've got the one back by the tank. Also, when I'm applying smoke to that, I'll make sure the valve's open so you can get or take it hose off, apply the smoke through there. And if it starts leaking out somewhere in the hose, then you know you need to replace the hose. But you can save yourself all the money on buying a canister and hoses and everything if you can find out where it's going on. The canister is going to be good if one of two things. It doesn't leak smoke through the seams on the outside, because that would mean it's going to leak vacuum as well and turn your light on in the code. And if you can fill the tank and it doesn't keep shutting off as you fill it constantly, it's click, 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 and it takes forever to fill it, then it's bad, it's clogged. That's how we test a canister. No smoke coming out of the seams, and that I can fill it with fuel so it's flowing well. But that smoke machine for us saves us a lot of money and a lot of time because I can test those components. I usually activate them with my scanner because I've got the computer hooked up to it, and I can just turn it on and I can feel the solenoid click. If it clicks on, it better be flowing. If it clicks off, no flow. That's how we test it. But when we bought our smoke machine, I think I paid like $55 or something like that off of Amazon. All it is it looks like a spray, like the can you use for spraying paint, like to paint your car or your house. It's got a little thing on the bottom, but it's instead of a sprayer on top, it just has a air hose fitting you hook up, and then another hose coming out. Then you put baby oil in it, and it's got a little like a glow plug.
I wonder if Diddy's got any of those.
Probably.
Okay.
And it heats up, and smoke comes out. And
I feel like this is where I jump in. This is my job on the show. Let me just jump in and say, what is he talking about? What should Doc do? Shannon, let me look to you and just say,
get on his phone, go to Amazon, type in car smoke machine.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad advice. And there was a point in time, if I go back
or
on
spend
this,
$500.
if I go back 20 years ago on this show, we didn't have a smoke machine, and they were really expensive.
Oh yeah, they were like $800.
And Russ was like trying to figure out ways to fix these things without a smoke machine.
And I made one, and it caught on fire.
So it worked.
With a glow plug.
So that cheap machine, if you use it once or twice, is going to pay for it. So I do have a question, Doc, just as on the parts that they quoted you for whatever brand it was, we don't care. What was the grand total of those three parts? I was curious. The canister would be probably $150, probably
$225.
Well, I don't know what the brand is. I can't really.
Yeah, we don't care. We're just looking for prices.
But all right. So and the prices are through their wholesale prices through my mechanic's account.
That's fine. Just so what prices did you come up with?
There. The $377 for the canister. The vacuum switch is $50, and the solenoid is $65. So $541 total.
One thing you might do with that age of car, and this is a roll of the dice.
Leave the light on.
Well, that's me probably. I'm not at 501,000 miles. I'm not too worried about it. I'm thinking, geez, if that's the only problem I got at at 500,000 miles, let's have a party. Mm-hmm. But you could find a local self-service yard and go out and grab some different solenoids and a canister.
Yeah, because most of those in a self-service yard are not going to make it to 500,000.
They probably got 150,000 miles on them.
Right.
And you might spend $30, $40, $50, and you could have some swap parts to try. But I still think,
and if it changes anything,
if something changes and makes a difference, then do that. But it seems to me like that sounds like a lot of money for that canister.
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
it's right. I did look one up not too long ago on a Toyota, and I remember it was over $500.
Yeah.
It was crazy money.
Woo.
Doc, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. He's in an unfortunate spot. That $500,000 is you want to keep it for pride, but
I think he got to 500,000 because he's Doc.
agreed. Yeah, you're right, because he's doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. The phone number to reach us, 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
Make a radio appointment each week to hear the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Got a question on the chat.
What are we chatting about?
Have a 1991 Chevy C1500 Silver.
A lifetime warranty, expecting an occasional failure.
Uh-huh.
Because that's normal.
And you better read the fine print when you buy a starter or any product with a lifetime warranty, because many of them we see means they have a year warranty. That lifetime warranty, we will replace your starter once in its lifetime.
Right.
So if the car is a year and a half old and you've never done anything and it goes bad, okay, we'll replace it. You go in again and they go, no, we've already replaced it once. It was a lifetime warranty, and over its lifetime, we're going to give you one. And there's other ones that'll say repeated, because they don't want you to, if there's a problem where they're going over and over and over, it's not the starter.
It's not their problem.
You're the only one. We want to tell you, you're the only one. It's like when people come into me and say, I bought bad gas at this gas station. They just got crappy gas. Yeah, you're the only one. What? No, you were.
You
the
hit
only
the hot pocket in the tank, and it was just you.
Not possible, because
It's like slime.
I'm right there. I should have at least 50 people that said you're the only one. And you said it happened I bought it a week ago and it just got to it. No, it didn't. I love that you're trying to think out of the box, but it's not the fuel. So this starter going out, I want to know if the starter's on the vehicle and working, does it crank normally? Does it crank like a brand new car would in 1991? When you crank it, does it, you're like, oh, it cranks nice
This
at
is
the normal speed?
Most likely a small block Chevy,
Yep.
probably a 305 or a 350 in this two-wheel drive Chevy truck.
It probably either has the timing set too high and it's kicking back and damaging the starter, or it's got really crappy battery cables or a battery that's weak and it's cranking slower than it should.
At
which
low
is
amperage.
more resistance, so it's heating things up and burning up that starter. And that's probably what's going on. I would almost bet on that.
So what's the fix there?
The fix is every time we put a starter on, we get our tester out, which is it's a cheap, like a $80 tester. We hook it up, we check the charging system. What's that charging voltage look like? What's the charging amperage look like? Then we hit the button again when that's done, and it says check starting system. We crank the car, and it says how much did it pull for a load? How many amps? Oh, look at that. It's within specs. We're good. But if we look at it and go, whoa, that's really bad. Maybe we need a battery. Maybe we've got bad cables. But we know it drew 5 times what it's supposed to. Something's going to give. Either a cable, a battery, starter, something's going to fail. It's not going to last long. And we don't want them to just go down the road, say, well, we'll address this in a couple months when they come back. Let's just let it go so it's quick. We're out of here today. What happens if 10 of those come back in a few months, and then you're buried with all these
If you get
comebacks?
low resistance or low amperage to an electric motor that needs a certain amount, and it's still working, but it's just really pulling to do it, it heats it up and it ruins it. And so you got to look at that.
Full power, baby.
866-594-4150. Here's another one off the chat. I'm having a hard time changing the front pads on an Audi A4 20.
That was not internal, Russ. That was external.
Yeah,
Next.
you made the noise. 2016 Quattro, they say it takes a 13 millimeter triple square. Never heard of that. Jack
Looks like a star, but it's a square.
Okay.
So picture a square.
Uh-huh. You need a special.
Square. What do you get? You get a star.
Yeah.
Like a
I gotcha.
yeah, you get a star. So go buy one.
Right? I mean,
Seriously, go buy good.
But is that his problem, the tool, or does it go further with the question?
Audi A4 2016 front pads.
I think he's trying to say I can't get it off of there. It takes a triple square. So you're going to buy one of those off of Amazon. You're going to use it once. You get that. You could find the tool truck and get one there. May or may not have one. Usually they do, but they want to sell you a set.
You can buy a little rack of those with the one you need it in it for way less online than the tool truck.
Probably somewhere
for the
between,
one that you need.
Do you know how many times I've gone back to find, like, just go through old bits just to see if I can find the one that I need, and sometimes do.
Yeah, I broke. I can't remember what it was last year. I broke one. I'm like, actually, I didn't break it. I lost the bit out of it down through my deck, and I can't find it. And I've looked for it, and it was a Craftsman. And to go buy another one was like 30. Just this little hex bit. It was like 30 some bucks, $40. I bought a whole rack of sizes in 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, and I'm not going to use them that much. So these will be perfect for me.
If you guys ever throw tools away like that, where you get boxes of just like so you buy like 3 of those sets just to get the one out, and then you go, now it's all mixed up.
Never thrown anything away.
Yeah, I either throw them away or I give them to my brother-in-law. I'm like, here, you want some tools? And it's like, here's.
He gets 5 metric sets missing 10, 12, and 15.
Well, and he'll go take them in and try to get them warranted and stuff. But Craftsman, you used to be able to just walk into Sears and they would give you. They don't do that anymore.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Tracy in Montana. Tracy, go ahead.
Good morning, guys. Hey, at my 05 CRV, my steering wheel is shaking back and forth when I'm accelerating or when I'm decelerating. If I'm going at a steady speed, got the cruise on, it will not shake at all at any speed. Tried rotating the wheels, that made no difference. Is that most likely the drive shaft on this all-wheel drive or something else?
CV axle shaft in the front. If the steering wheel is vibrating, if it's walking back and forth, CV axle. If it's just shaking up and down, rear drive axle. But that front CV axle, you put a load on it, and that tripod joint, if it's out of round, it'll vibrate as it shakes. Usually we see this in a turn. So if it started off, if you're going around an exit ramp and you try to accelerate, if it was a little bit there, and now it's turned into a down the road, it can do it. The other thing that can do it is a broken motor mount or one that's sagging really bad. So the engine's out of a line. That'll
because it's moving when you're
the axles will be out of a line if that mount's out of a line. Some cars used to have an adjustment. Some of the old Chryslers and stuff for that.
All right. So on the CRV, it's got a weird motor mount arrangement. So maybe you could help me out with which one. I have replaced all of them, and also about a year ago, I put a transmission in it. Straight from Japan, one of those JDM ones.
Sure.
And at that time, since it was out, I went ahead and put in CV axles. But
you might have a bad one. I've had a couple of the aftermarket ones that just happen to be bad. I mean, factory could too. But check the motor mount on the front of the engine, the one closest to the passenger side on the front of the motor, the one that holds the uppermost one on the engine towards the top of the hood. That's usually the one that gets out of whack. So check that. Put a little jack underneath it, raise it up and down, see if it moves. That's where I would go. But also those shafts, see if you can, roll it. Look at the shaft and have somebody roll the car back and forth about a foot and see if it goes up and down.
That'll do it for Hour 1 of the Under the Hood Show. The Under the Hood Show is brought to you by Sturtevant's. Hour 2 is on the way.
You're listening to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show with the Motor Medics, Shannon Nordstrom and Russ the Super Tech Evans. Shannon is an ASE engine and parts specialist, and Russ is an ASE Master Certified Technician with extensive factory drivability training. Join the Motor Medics for fun and free automotive advice with real-world solutions to everyday automotive problems. The Under the Hood Show is heard weekly on this and other great radio stations across the U.S. Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
With Russ Evans, this is Shannon Nordstrom, thanking you for tuning in to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show. Have a great day, and remember, PTLA.
The opinions heard on this program, based on the many years of experience of Russ and Shannon, are offered for entertainment value only and as a guide to your repair needs. No claim to repair or cause is given or implied. Always consult with your own certified technician and follow all safety procedures before attempting any repair. To be a part of the show, call 866-594-4150. Under the Hood is produced by Prairie House Productions. All content is the property of Nordstrom's Automotive Incorporated and may not be used without our permission. Copyright Nordstrom's Automotive, Inc. Now, let's go under the hood with the Nordstrom's Motor Medics.
Welcome to the Under the Hood Show. We are glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Thanks for joining us under the hood, Chris.
Shannon Nordstrom is here to do the same.
Welcome, hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so we can help you tune up.
I'm Chris Carter here to answer your calls at 866-594-4150. 866-594-4150. And we should mention quick, next week we will be at Barrett Jackson in Arizona.
Yeah, and you can call us live while we're there. We're going to put down that time, so you're going to have to look. I can't
What's
tell
that
you
phone
right
number?
now. 866-594-4150.
Just like it is now.
Just like it is now. So you can call us live. If you call us between now and then, and your calls are on our machine, we're going to call you like we normally do. So if we're off the air, you wonder, how do you call us? You just call us, and it'll say, hey, leave your message. We don't need to know everything about the car. We like a surprise. We like to just know it. We do it all from memory, nothing from computers ever. We just do it. So you can just call and say, hey, my name is Martha, and I've got a Mustang I want to talk about. It does a thing, that thing. So here's my phone number. Call me. But we're going to be able to call people at times we normally don't. So we'll be able to reach more people that we couldn't. Hopefully, I think it was Cherry from Hawaii, if I remember right. I'm going to have to try to go find your number again, but couldn't call you. Sorry, because you're 6 hours time difference from us. And I didn't want to call you at like 2 a.m. So we might be able to call you. It probably
We
is
could
a
have
little
called
late.
them. It just wouldn't have been very nice.
Yeah,
Right.
so her Toyota wouldn't steer. She says she listens to the show all the time, loves it. So I was thinking we want to talk to you about it. Probably has it fixed by now. If you don't, there's probably a lot of walking going on. But yeah, we'd like to talk to you about it. So if you remember, if you're hearing this before then, you can give us a call. Otherwise, you can call us while we're at Barrett Jackson.
Yeah, and whenever you're hearing this, you can call that number and leave a message. You can always do that, and we'll give you a call during the show.
Yep.
It'll
We got
just
your
be some
calls.
new
We'll
time.
make you a promise that we will get you involved in the show. Just like.
You-
Just
I don't know about that. Don't make that promise. I mean, because what if they call up and their question just isn't something that we can answer, or they don't? The
They'll
phone
be involved.
fades out.
They'll be
and
involved in the show.
and we
don't.
miss the.
That involvement may not be public.
I don't know.
That involvement may be
I don't.
quiet, off to the side.
I just
Not at
don't-
all.
I just don't think you should say that.
So you're saying not every promise is a good one?
yeah.
Okay,
True.
well, Ford just made a promise.
Oh, good, nice. I'm sorry. Did
made-
I screw
you-
up your?
I was trying to
segue?
get there, but-
I'm sorry.
The Ford Power Promise.
That's
Ford Power Promise.
Okay.
And Ford is trying to really increase their EV vehicle standings here in the United States. And they've got a big investment. They're losing their butt on every one of them that they sell. I mean, Ford was the one that they spun it off kind of into a separate division. And so they're continuing to press along on it. So the Ford Power Promise, what does that do? They will install a level 2 standard. They call it a standard installation in your home.
Okay.
If you buy the car. So the level 2 has got the 240 plug or the 220, however you look at it, and it's going to be you got to have enough amperage circuit. So I'm sure if you don't have enough power at your house, they're not going to come bring in the extra panel or anything. But they're going to do that. They're going to expand the education about the battery warranty of 8 years, 100,000 miles, and let people know they got your back on the batteries. Let's not be worried about that. And they're going to be doing this on Mach-E's, Ford Lightning pickups, and they are going to push this in the fourth quarter of 2024.
Okay.
And it does say in the article that they may expand that, but why would you even say that if you're trying to get people interested?
Right.
But they're rolling the dice out there trying to get some more people rolling on this stuff. And as I read this article, this one happened to be from NBC News. I was intrigued because there was a factoid at the end of the story that I would like to ask you guys and see if you get right or not, because I would have gotten it wrong. And I would have probably admitted I would have gotten it wrong. But this, or as of the writing of this article, at the end of September 2024, Ford was the number 3 U.S. automaker for EVs.
Okay.
They were number 3 behind who?
Okay. Tesla, I would assume.
For number 1.
Number 1, and
Number 2 is the questionable one.
well, American manufacturer?
No, it
Oh,
says
okay.
US EV sales.
Okay.
I think it's BMW. I'm just guessing. And that's not in my questions from Ford Motor Company they sent me yesterday, and I forgot to tell you about.
Volkswagen.
I'm thinking BMW
Group.
because I see a lot of BMWs on the road.
Number 2 was Hyundai.
Hyundai?
Okay.
Ioniq. I had to
Yeah.
think about it for a second. They must sell quite a
Yeah,
few of those.
yeah.
I saw an Ioniq on the road the other day.
Car of the
That was
year.
cool.
Yeah.
I mean, they.
And so, in this article, as of this article, it was Tesla, Hyundai, and then Ford number 3.
Okay.
And my first guess would have been GM number 3 because they've put a lot of work out there to get some stuff out there on the road. But then when you pause and you think about it, like when we went to the Sioux Valley Energy road, the electric vehicle show and stuff that they had. I didn't go this year, but the year I was there was like 3 people there with Hyundais that were proud of them, and that was I didn't see a lot of other stuff other than some exotics at that time that people had there in their show, but. That was, it was just interesting. But yeah, the Ford Power Promise is what they're pushing right now.
Okay.
Yeah, they actually, Ford Motor Company actually called Doug, producer Doug, a couple days ago. And then they called me and asked us to talk about it. And their only day to talk about it for this interview was today, which will come out, like you said, later. They want to put it on, but
no idea about this.
said,
I just saw it as an interesting news story.
And I thought it was good. So I didn't even read the questions until just now as you were talking about it. I said, I'm going to look at this. And the only thing that you didn't mention in there that caught my eye, it says all the Ford products, they have a 100,000 mile, 8-year warranty on all their batteries.
I did say that.
They wanted, did you say that?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I was reading it as you said it. So
We
I
said it
didn't catch
twice now. They got it.
There you go. But
Yeah.
that's
They're trying to-
that's a long time. I mean, they're having to do. Look at how far they got to go out of their way to make
Look-
I mean, your gas car. You're like, no, I'm just going to drive it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to buy it and drive it. Oh, it's got a what? Oh, I don't care.
Imagine the myths and the thoughts that they have to overcome, even so far as we had a call within the last month about Toyota Prius. Are the batteries in the hybrid reliable, and how long is that a good
and
car?
we were like, well,
And it's
some of them have 400,000 miles on.
And it's a 25, 30-year-old
Yeah.
product that and now it's going in everything. It's not, and they're still trying to overcome that in some incidents. So I can imagine that anybody who's worked, Ford especially, but anybody has to overcome that initial thing.
I think if they just keep on track with the way the demand the people are having for it, people are interested about things that they're not forced upon. If you say, oh, yeah, that's kind of cool, and you ignore it and you walk away, people go, oh, what is that? Oh, well, let me check into it. Maybe I might want to get one of those and keep whatever else I got, but I might be. But if you tell them they have to, they're going to say no.
Right.
But if you just let it go and let it grow on its own, eventually they'll learn and it'll get better and better until more people say, yeah, I think I want that. And then at some point people will say no.
And then the next thing you know, they're saying yes, tater tot hot dish for their birthday when they're 9, even though they wouldn't touch it when they were 6. You just let them figure it out. That's how it works.
Was that the boy or the girl?
Electric cars,
I'm guessing it was the
tater
girl.
tot hot dish. It's all the same.
The girl wanted tater tot hot dish.
The automotive industry is just tater tot hot dish. Let's go to Illinois and talk to Al. Al, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Hi, guys. I called you a couple months ago about my plain blue 56 Ford F100.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And the generator wasn't generating, so I put a 100 amp alternator on, a 1-wire alternator.
Yeah.
I think I got that working, but what do I do about the battery light on the dashboard?
You don't. You don't. You no longer have one. So that battery light ran down to the white wire, I believe, on the regulator. And when you turn the key on, it would ground, and then when it would send power back, it would shut off. So they do make a little box. It's a little voltage box, and when it sees, what happens is when it sees battery voltage, 13 and a half volts, it grounds the wire on this little tiny box. So the box is just a box bolted to the metal to ground it, and then one wire connects to your battery. That's it. And then you've got your gauge wire. So it's grounded. But when it sees that alternator kick on and your voltage comes up a little bit, and it's usually has a dial to set it because some cars have less voltage than others and some more than others. But you set it so when key on, engine off, not running, the light's on, but then you start it up, the voltage increases, the light goes off. So it's just a little on off. And I've seen that from online from companies like, was it LMC Trucks? They used to sell one for old, because they had so many cars like that. Jegs has, and Summit.
Okay.
They have old street rod. Who's the one in Nebraska? The big
Speedway Motors?
Speedway. There you go. Speedway. Is it Nebraska or Kansas?
Nebraska.
Nebraska. There you go.
Yeah, they used to sponsor Doug Wolfgang's sprint car.
Yes, Speedway. Because Speedway is the one I'd go to because they've got so many of the old. You got a 32 Ford or something, and you want to put a one-wire alternator on it. You're gonna have to have something like that to make that work. But it just looks at the voltage, and if you see it's coming on when you turn all your headlights on and stuff, you go, well, I got to adjust this a little bit so it goes off, so you get the voltage just right. But that's what you do. Otherwise, you do nothing about it. You just disconnect the wire, and you don't have a light. You put a gauge under the dash that tells you what the voltage is.
Does that help you out there, Al?
Yeah, I got a quick question about tires. Can you help me out?
Sure. Let's keep rolling on them tires. What do you got?
Good one.
I have L7815s, bias ply, and they're like 40 years old. And when I talk to people, their eyes kind of roll back in their head when I say L7815.
Mine got worried when you started talking about rolling on tires that are 40 years old.
What do you want to? Do you want to
Don't
replace?
roll very fast.
Do you want to replace them?
Yes, I know they're old bias plies, and just trying to find a modern equivalent.
I think that's a 205 7015 or something like that.
That sounds about right. You can go on Google, and there's a ton of tire calculators that will do
205
conversions.
75 maybe.
That sounds about right. But you could also go to somebody like Coker Tire. They make classic tires
that looks like
that tire.
Okay.
And they might even badge a tire with the original size on it, I bet. They make all kinds of fun stuff like that.
I think they do. The tires will say like L7815, and then the fine print it'll say 205 7015.
I guess I haven't looked that close, but I'd just be so surprised if they didn't do that. Now, you're going to pay a little more than you would for just a tire you'd go down and buy. But it sounds to me like you're really concerned about keeping this truck as it was.
No. I'm just looking for good radial tires. It's sort of a combination of everything's fairly stock with a 6-cylinder.
Yeah, at that point you've got a 15-inch diameter rim. You can put whatever size tire that you feel fits on there and looks a good profile for you. Of course you'll run into some speedometer issues if you get too crazy, but you're not driving this thing 100 miles an hour.
Right.
You're cruising with it, so you're going to be fine. But you can put any 15-inch tire on there that would fit the profile of the vehicle, and you'll be just fine.
Put some fatties on there so it looks cool with the moon hubcaps.
I was just going to say baby moons. Yeah.
And you might you've got a tubed tire in there right now, so you might have to, maybe different rims if you don't want to do that. But, there's things you can do there. You got lots of options in that department.
Can you get a solid one like a wheelbarrow?
Sure. Somebody probably sells one. Be
there
odd.
you go.
Al, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. I wouldn't imagine that a 56 had a dashboard light for anything. I just wouldn't
imagine.
One
for oil, one for voltage, battery.
Uh-huh.
Bat oil, I think it says on the dash on each end, if I can picture that right.
866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Car feeling ill? Don't want to spread it to your wallet? Call the Motor Medics now for free advice.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Here's another question from the chat. I called in a couple weeks ago. It always worries me when they say that, because I feel like next is something we did wrong.
Uh-oh.
I called in a couple weeks ago about my Duster. Appreciated you taking my call. I'm currently considering an 08 Honda Ridgeline with 228,000 miles, new timing belt at 178,000. Any advice for me on a 2008 Honda Ridgeline?
You waited that long to put a timing belt on
That's
it?
pretty good.
That scares me.
They maximize
Does it? If it's Isn't that good though? Because that means it was only done 50,000 miles
But
ago.
it's good for them that, we're reacting.
Yeah.
We're
so
reacting to
it's
the
not
fact
due
that
for
somebody
another
got the
20, right?
178 without putting one in and didn't ruin the motor.
We don't know
Right.
that it was the first.
That's true.
Yeah, it's possible.
Well, with that being put in recently, that takes care of that motor for a while.
But
Right.
don't think that you can go, oh, well, it was just put in and it had 107. Don't think you can go another 178,000 without changing this one.
My brother-in-law, Scott here, one of our top salesmen, he just hit a deer with his Honda Ridgeline, 2008, I think, somewhere in that range.
Sitting in my shop right now.
And he has 200,000 plus miles on
250.
that. Yep, and would have still be driving it today if the deer wouldn't have decided to run in the road.
Yeah. Needed a fuel pump. He says, it's not running right. What's going on? I said, I think you broke your pump when he hit because it won't accelerate. No. Yeah,
The
that's a
timing
tough
belt.
car.
So advice on it, what would you check on an 08? Nothing, right? I mean,
The
you would,
normal stuff
obviously,
you
yeah.
check when you do a used car inspection. You're going to check tires, brakes, suspension parts for being loose. You're going to check struts, make sure they're not running down with leaking oil. Or when you drive down the road, does it bounce real bad or does it shake when you step on the brakes? You pull the scanner out and you read and see if there's codes. Did they just clear the codes right before you're coming to look at it now? I'll go clear the codes. So then they drive it once and it's fine. They bring it back that second time the light comes on. So then before they sell it, they're clearing it one more time. Dirty things people do. It's like, that code was in there. No, it wasn't. It's like, yeah, look at the history. It was in there. You're going to check those things. You're going to listen for weird noises in the engine when it's sitting there running. Do I have weird noises? Try to get it cold. Start that car when it's cold. You're gonna know. You want to come over first thing in the day. You tell them, do not start this car. I want to hear it run cold. Oh yeah, I didn't start it at all today. No, you're gonna go over, open the hood, you feel it, go, oh, it feels cold. Oh, now I could touch the exhaust manifold. It's cold. Yep.
what do you
they
do
haven't
if it's
started it.
100 degrees every day and it just is warm?
It'll be cold.
Okay.
You can still feel that metal will be cool, but you'll know. And you start it up, and if it goes, when you start it, it might have some wear going on there.
Use your tongue. Just put your tongue on it. That's
No.
isn't that how, yeah.
No.
Kiss it on the
No.
forehead. See if it.
No.
Okay. All right. Just checking. I'm just asking.
But that used car inspection, though, at that age, that vehicle could have saw events. I mean, you want to look underneath it to make sure that the unistructure is correct. It hasn't been pulled, welded together improperly. Look for, not a lot of rust problem on those. We really haven't had a lot of rust
I've never seen a
problem.
rusty one.
Yeah.
Check everything. Wipers, windows, washers, windshield washers. Did they work? I mean, all these things add up to be money. Oh, washers don't work. What could that be? Well, it could be a multifunction switch. It could be a washer tank. Could be a broken hose. I'm just going cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. You add these things up.
I am going to throw a little comment out here, though. Let's bring some levity to this situation. Does it say in the chat at all? Probably not. How much they're paying for it?
No.
Okay. Just a quick general question.
So
What do you
what,
think it-
Fred? It's
Because
$500.
here's the thing. You go out and you're going to buy a home, and you do a home inspection on a house that costs $175,000, which I don't know where you're going to find that.
one.
But you're most likely going to get a punch list that's 10 miles long on that house if it's that cheap.
Right.
But it's inhabitable, and you can work on it as you go.
Mm-hmm.
And you know exactly what you're buying. You got to apply that same idea to a used vehicle inspection when you're looking at it. So if you go in and you're looking at this 08 Honda Ridgeline, and they're asking $3,000 for it, it's had a timing belt put in it. It runs good. It drives good. It does everything it's supposed to do. The transmission shifts. The windows roll up and down. It looks okay. But then you see it's got, I got a leak here. I got a power steering system leak. I've got a rear differential that's got some seepage around the oil, the front pumpkin on the rear differential. I've got, the tailgate latch is broke. The wiper arm is bent. Somebody grabbed it and bent it. Okay, I'm paying $3,000 for it.
Right.
Then I got another one that's sitting down the street that's pristine with the same miles on it. They want $7,500. It's got a full 127-point inspection. It's got a 1-year warranty. Okay, that should cost more money. You do have to keep it relative to what you're buying, because I don't know how many times over the years I've had people say, "Can you give me an inspection on this, or can you help me with this?" And they're buying like a $2,500 kid's car.
Yeah.
And I'm like, for $2,500, you're gonna take some chances.
I had somebody call me
You
on
don't know
Monday
you're
this
gonna
week and said, "Hey, I'm buying this cheap car." I'm like, "What's cheap?" He goes, "It's $1,000." And it was, I think it was a Honda Accord. And they said, the radiator leaks a little bit though. So I'm thinking about buying it. They said it's been leaking for a long time and they just keep filling it up like a gallon every couple of weeks. And he goes, "Can I just put some K-Seal in there?" And I said, "You listen to the show, don't you?" "Well, yeah." And I'm like, just pour it in.
That was not a
close the
question,
top.
Russ. That was a brag that they watched the show and they wanted you to know.
Yeah.
That's what that was.
And I was like,
they already knew the
okay.
answer.
So you
Yeah.
get a deal.
Yeah,
like a
they
car
already
So if
with
they
the
bring it to
K-Seal.
you,
They,
and
were, they knew the answer.
you'll like them and give them a deal.
Yeah.
Same reason I do. Same reason I bring my car to you and talk about how great
I'm not
you are.
giving them a deal on K-Seal because it's got a money-back guarantee.
Good point.
So why give them a deal in the beginning, right?
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. The phone number to reach is 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
Get your planner out right now and schedule your next radio appointment with the Motor Medics.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. You can call that number 24 hours a day. Leave a message. We'll call you back during the show. And you can watch the show. Don't forget, if you go to our YouTube channel, you can watch the show every week. And if you subscribe to that, which you should, or at least click like every time you go there and do that, and then join the Hoodie Fan Club at UnderTheHoodShow.com, you could win a hoodie.
Like Corey Tremaine, congratulations to everybody here under the hood and our friends over at Universal Technical Institute, UTI.edu, and Berkeley One Classics, celebrating 50 years of collector car coverage.
I don't know why I think this, but I imagine that Corey, when you said that, I thought he plays guitar. He's in a band, or was. He's some sort of a musician. Isn't that weird? That
Tonight,
popped into my head?
Corey Tremaine on bass.
Were you locally segueing to Corey and the Fireflies?
No.
Or
No, I don't know what it was.
Do you think he's a Tremaine, a bass player or lead guitar? Corey Tremaine.
Rhythm guitar,
Rhythm
and
guitar?
he can play lead if he needs to, but he's not confident yet.
Doesn't sound like a Guns N' Roses kind of guy. Sounds more like a Air Supply. Corey Tremaine.
That's interesting. We could go
Yeah,
further with that,
uh-huh.
but maybe we should go back to something that's automotive related.
Might as well.
All right. Well, I am going to grab my phone here because I had gotten an email just before we came on the show today, and it was from our trade association folks. Some of you may or may not know that I'm in the leadership of our international trade association called the Automotive Recyclers Association. In 2 years, I'll be the president. And so we're getting ready for our annual convention. So there's some things coming up. I just told these guys on the break I get an opportunity to tour the Gigafactory that's near Reno, Nevada. So that's gonna be something to see. I'm intrigued by that, of course. But today I got this email that Representative Titus from Nevada has introduced a bill based on recent events called the Thermal Runaway Reduction Act.
What the?
Okay.
What?
And the Thermal Runaway Reduction Act, we talked earlier in the show about the Ford Power Promise. These are the things that we're trying to deal with on the backside of the Ford Power Promise and other people's power promises. And Congress Dina Titus, she's okay. Here's what's going on. I might have the wrong name here, but the proposed legislation is requiring impact testing for batteries that account for forces experienced in transportation accidents so that they can withstand these things, and requiring regulations that would set a maximum state of charge that a battery could have before it was transported. And so they've got events that have happened
Sure.
that they're noting in this. And July 26, 2024, a truck carrying a shipment of lithium batteries to a solar farm in Wisconsin caught fire on I-15, leading to complete shutdown of the freeway for days.
Mm-hmm.
As a result, the Nevada Department of Transportation and Caltrans met to discuss improving their response efforts. August 19th, 2024, a Tesla semi-truck crashed on I-80 in Northern California en route to the company's Gigafactory in Sparks, Nevada, quite a name, causing the vehicle's battery to ignite. Firefighters in California deployed 50,000 gallons of water. I think they even brought in a forest fighting airplane. Yeah, because to try to extinguish the blaze, because that's what firefighters have to do. They're supposed to try to put the fire out. But, the last one that just flipped over in California, they said on the national news, this just happened last Friday. They said they just let her burn out. They got to leave it alone until they let it burn out. September 17th, 2024, a blaze erupted outside Las Vegas on I-95 just after midnight. 2 semi-trucks collided. One was hauling 31,000 pounds of lithium-ion batteries, the other lumber. Nye County Fire Services extinguished the fire with 55 gallons
terrible
of F500 EA solution in 2 hours. So they used a new solution that's supposed to kind of be able to help smother these fires. But they want to prioritize safety more. They want to figure out how to stop some of the reignition that occurs. And that is a challenge. That is a big challenge.
Yeah.
And I think so many of these things that you'll have out there are going to be reactions to things like this that happened. When we start bringing more of this into our infrastructure, these are the side things that you don't see, hear about very often when you're buying the vehicle, or if you're using your new Still or Milwaukee leaf blower that's got their batteries on it. From that size, from a scooter to a car, which, I was driving by the job site down at our local exit down here in Brandon, South Dakota, where they've got a huge construction project going on. And I know a couple of the owners of that contracting company, but I saw a new Hummer kind of driving in the middle.
I see that there every night when I'm leaving.
And that's, I'm pretty sure that's one of the uppers in that, checking on the project. But there again, that thing, the whole bottom of the vehicle with the Ultium chassis,
it's a battery.
Is the battery. And it's the size of that vehicle to a certain extent. We got to figure out how to handle all this stuff, because conventional transportation is what moves all this. We've got a lot to figure out, and there's some side problems here that we're dealing with when you start pushing these envelopes and don't have everything put together yet. So this is interesting that there's now someone proposing a thermal runaway reduction act.
And we should point out that these things like this have always been around. I mean, not this specifically, but we've gone through periods of this over time. This has happened.
Yeah, how do we transport fuel?
Right,
we can't,
exactly.
And we can't move gasoline around. That's going to be dangerous.
So
they do it all the time now.
So both things can be true. That it is a thing that happens, but also it's a growing pain.
Yeah, and that's what I'm pointing out, is that there is a lot going on behind the scenes. And for us, on being automotive recyclers, we are extremely concerned that we don't get hung with the burden of what the manufacturer created,
right,
and have no outlet of how to get rid of it. Because the recyclers are in a terrible spot right now, because the chemistries and the compositions of the batteries have been changing so often. If they make a battery with iron phosphate and they make another one with, they're not compatible in the recycling process. And so now these companies that have spent lots of government money creating recycling plants, they are not getting the inventory they need to maintain them and run them as a profitable business model. So can they be around long enough to reach the point where there's more of this coming in? That's a big challenge. And so they've thrown a lot of money at the problem. They still got a problem.
It is weird to think, when you think big picture, there are so many things that you don't think of. And this goes, especially lately, we see that where someone will say, well, in this country on the other side of the world, it's causing this problem. That stuff is relevant to what we're doing in your garage and some of this stuff. And it can be a thing we have to worry about that you don't even think of.
Well, and there's a couple of things that just happened recently in the news again that you look at and say, okay, will this affect us or not? One of the places where they get most of the quartz that is used in a lot of semiconductors is currently almost cut off from the world because of the flooding and the aftermath of the hurricane in western North Carolina. Mm-hmm. You got a dock workers strike going on right now that is going to cripple automotive stuff again if this goes on too long.
Almost everything. Yeah. Like it'll be just like COVID. We didn't have ships because it was COVID. We don't have ships because
we see things through an automotive lens, but it's going to affect a lot of stuff. But if there's components that have to come in to match up with the American products that we have here that are homegrown. Without that, whatever you need from China, you don't put it together.
Yeah.
What do we have? Subarus without glove box latches, they couldn't finish. We had vehicles parked all over the place that they couldn't finish from Ford, GM, and everybody else because of these problems. So hopefully they can resolve the differences there sooner than later, but that's a big challenge. So there's a lot of things going on in the worldview that are going to be interesting, how it affects the automotive channels. And so we're concerned as a trade association and as an auto recycler, no, I don't want to end up with your 4,000, 3,000, 2,000 pound battery you've created, which is awesome and amazing, and then have to figure out what to do with it.
These should last 10 years. Okay, it's 10 years now. What do I do with it now?
Right. And so, and in a testament to the engineering, they are lasting longer than they expected. And so that's why the recycling windows are in the wrong place, it looks like.
Right.
So it's a challenge.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. The phone number to reach us, 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
Prepare to learn something. You're going under the hood.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. All right, listen, I want to help Brad out here because Brad called. Brad's not his real name. Let me change that. Someone called, and as someone who
Joe
screws around at work
Yeah.
and often does things that I would not want my boss to know about, Brad is at work and can't really talk on the radio, but he has a question, so he called in and gave it to our
You mean
producer.
Joe?
Yeah, Joe, I mean.
Yeah.
95 Jeep XJ, cruise control trouble. He just wants to know if he has to tear into the column or what. When it's the cruise, what is the procedure? What's the easiest and then on to hardest?
Well, yeah. If the problem's in the column, you got to tear it apart.
Yeah.
But if it's not in the problem, you don't. So that's not the issue.
That one wasn't as bad, though, because they used like a GM sourced
It is
cruise,
a GM cruise
wand
stock.
and stock. And
So you can give it a twist and pull it out and take the whole stock out, and the wires run right down the column. So you can fix it there. One of the if it's in the column, the wire is going to be broken.
pull a wire with it if you pull it out.
Yes, coat hanger. I use a coat hanger and hook onto one end and pull it out because you can't get it out.
Okay.
If
So-
you
You need to, not a trace wire. I'm using the wrong term.
yeah,
And
you're going to use it. You're going to fish it out,
a snake wire.
fish it back
There
in.
you go.
Yeah.
So or you cut it off up there at the switch. Once you move it and know you can move it freely, well, then you cut it off at the switch end and tie the new one to it, and down it goes. Maybe even with an extra one just in case, because if it comes off, you're tearing it down to get that baby out of there. But it could break where the wheel tilts up and down. They break right there all the time. The brake switch is the most common to go bad, where your foot steps on it. It's a two-way switch. It's got one for the brake lights, one for the cruise. That thing goes bad and you lose it. You might even be able to just put your foot under the brake pedal and pull it up and try to set the cruise. If that works, go down and adjust your switch.
That is
Or
one
just replace the
that
switch.
in my car, I have a cruise problem where very, very rarely the cruise doesn't go. So I tried to check it with my foot to see if the brake pedal was the problem. Lifted up on it, didn't make a difference. But I did notice that when the cruise won't set, if I just tap the brake and then try, it sets.
Sounds like you might need a switch, but it could also be some software issue where it has to see that. It's weird. I got a good one for you.
Not in this 95 Jeep.
No.
Not a
No.
software
Right.
issue.
I got an older vehicle. Only when the truck is warm, like fully warmed up, the temperature outside is above 80 degrees, and I'm on the highway. If I set my cruise, if I turn my blower motor switch, doesn't matter air conditioning or not, heater or blower, but if I put the blower switch on high, the cruise will shut off about every 5 seconds. If I turn it down one notch, so it's on medium or any other speed, the cruise will not shut off. This truck has electric throttle, so there's no cruise modules. You turn the switch on, you set the cruise, you turn that blower from medium to the next switch to high, cruise goes off. Turn it down one, reset it, turn it on high, boom, cruise goes off, but only above about 80 degrees and fully warm. Try to find that one.
Did you?
No, it says everything's fine.
Huh.
Everything is, I look at it, everything says normal. On the scanner, it says what shut it off? Nothing shut it off. It shows like the last few events that killed the cruise, like brake shut it off, switch shut it off. It doesn't. So I'm like, hey.
Is this your personal
Yeah,
vehicle?
it's my truck. So
that
I
makes
would
me
tell
feel-
other people, nope, not going to look at it because who knows?
That makes me feel better.
I'd give it a quick look.
Doesn't it? Does it? That it's,
I got to find it
Yeah.
because it drives me nuts.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, it's a voltage thing. And I said, well, no, that shouldn't matter because my electric throttle's working on the floor. It's just one thing. You know, you fix something.
Which vehicle's that?
My truck. My black truck.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And that's not that new.
No, it's all hardwired.
Yeah.
All of it's hardwired.
Yeah, that
Plus
makes me feel
electric
better.
throttle.
I feel way better. I think
Put
it might.
a new blower motor in it. Fix the problem.
It's not drawing 2 amps. I did check that.
'Cause
And the voltage
heating
is
a circuit
proper.
up somewhere.
I looked to see is the cab got the right voltage, and it does.
Do you think there's something that he hasn't?
I could throw something out randomly that maybe he got stuck in one path and I could redirect.
I don't think so.
No,
I
you're
don't think
Oh,
so.
I get that all the time.
You're right.
Go to Pennsylvania.
You're right.
Talk to Ben. Ben, you're on the Under the Hood show. What can we do for you?
Hey guys, I have a 2020 Nissan Titan, and I really haven't had any problems with it yet. I bought it used 3 years ago, and I've put about 75,000 miles on it since then. It's got about 80,000 miles on it now, and I was just wondering about transmission service. Everything I've found on it says it's a unit that you don't service, and it just makes me real nervous, especially with it being a 9-speed transmission. So I was just wondering if you guys had any insights on that, what to do with that, this as it, gains the miles and gets some wear and tear on it.
Yeah, you service it for sure. Ford says the same thing. We service those. Chrysler, Ram, same thing. We service those. We're finding between 80 and 100,000 miles. We'll look at the condition of the fluid. Most of them, though, we see if they're used like a truck is used, they're going to start seeing deterioration of that fluid at that 80,000 mile mark or so. But we've had a few that look beautiful, like brand new at that. We're like, well, let's go to 100 and come back and we'll change it then, unless you decide, well, now it's got 80. I'm going to start pulling a camper full time. No, if it's just normal, your normal driving, we'll do it. But they really go downhill fast once they start getting bad because dirty fluid leads to dirtier fluid, with wear and things as it breaks down.
That's what worries me.
But it's not cheap. That fluid is so expensive that you don't want to overchange it by any means, but you want to change it if it's starting to wear. So at 80, that's when we start taking a sample and see what it looks like.
Okay.
And Nissan, in their service manual, I will guarantee you, has a procedure for that transmission fluid. And some they'll say just a drop the pan and refill. Some, do not want a flush machine on it, whatever, because of the valves, the way they're set up in the transmission or whatever it might happen to be. So you definitely want to follow the recommended procedure that Nissan has established for when it does need to be done. But we've talked about this a lot. A lot of these manufacturers are making these units so that the consumer has less to think about in the lifetime of owning it that matters to the manufacturer.
Sure.
And so cost of ownership is such a big deal. They're trying to say, all right, no, we've got this sealed unit. It'll go 100,000 miles or more. Don't worry about it. Just drive it. But, well, somebody's going to take it past that threshold.
Right.
And you want to make it last longer than that. So that's what we always talk about. So you're thinking right, I believe. How does that sound like? Any other questions? Did I help you out?
Yeah, part of it was, I don't know how familiar with you guys are with these Titans, but this one in particular doesn't have a dipstick or anything like
No,
that on it. So
most vehicles don't.
check it.
Yeah, most vehicles don't. Some
So
vehicles don't have one for the oil.
Huh.
Yeah,
For the
it's a
engine
matter
oil.
of finding like a garage that'll work on it. And a lot of guys around here, other than taking it to the dealer, which the dealer is like, oh, that's a non-serviceable unit. So I guess I need to call a couple of different dealers.
I would go to a transmission shop.
Yep.
Just somebody that specializes in transmissions. And you should have an independent transmission shop around that area somewhere. If you look up on Google and just put in transmission shop, and you'll find somebody, and they'll know. Because, like I said, if you look at the pan, there's usually
There's a drain end fill on the bottom of it,
it's the same plug.
but there's no dipstick on it. A lot of trucks and stuff are that way. And cars, they make it appear like you don't have to check it. If there's no dipstick,
Right.
You don't have to check it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Unless it leaks.
How do you use the truck, Ben?
Mostly just commuting. I mean, I'm a project manager for a general contractor, so I do a lot of commuting back and forth. I don't really haul heavy with it or anything.
Sure.
But I mean, it's my second Titan. I had a 2012. They've both been great trucks. Just the 2012 was a lot more user friendly as far as working on it goes. It was very like the vehicles that came before it. There's a dipstick and a clear way to deal with it. This one's a little different.
Yeah, that's
that's
going away
unit.
on most everything now. There's very few that you find that have a transmission dipstick anymore. I'd say in the last 4 or 5 years, new vehicles, there's most of, and for 10 years, they've been getting rid of them. And so I'm not a fan because I like to be able to take a quick look and see what the fluid looks like, smells like, tastes. Well, no, not taste, but just you're used to looking at fluids. And that's something that they don't make it as easy to do anymore. But most people don't care. They just want to drive it.
Yeah.
And they're trying to match that for the consumer side of things. And it's got long-term ramifications, but they're not worried as much about what happens with that vehicle after 100,000 miles.
Right.
As they are what happens between 0 and 50,000 miles.
Yeah, for sure. Because they want you, Ben, to buy the next one. But if you're buying one that has 200,000 miles on it, they're not thinking you're going to come in and buy a brand new one.
Ben, I hate to go here, but I'm going to. These guys are going to cringe. But are you a podcaster or a radio listener?
Podcaster. Yeah, I came across you guys' podcast probably about a year ago. I was commuting about an hour and 25 minutes for work, and I'm an old. I don't know if you guys remember the old NPR show.
Yep.
It's slipping my mind now.
Click and clack.
Car Talk.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, Click and Clack. Yeah, my son and I started. My son's 10, and we started listening to that, and he always got a kick out of it. And then we ran out of episodes of Car Talk to listen to, and it suggested you guys. I've been listening to you guys for a little over a year.
That's awesome.
I put you up in the podcast when I'm driving. I really enjoy the show. It's informative. I enjoy listening to you guys.
Oh, that's awesome. And
appreciate it.
Since you're in Pennsylvania, I say if you're on the radio, can you turn the radio on without seeing a political ad or hearing a political ad? My goodness.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's why I got into the podcast so much. To be completely honest with you, it's awful.
Yeah, we don't have that here.
It's nothing but political.
No,
ads.
you guys have to be in Pennsylvania right now. What was that movie? Was it Swing Vote? Where there was a movie about the guy that was the final
the one
person that would make a difference. And I think they think every one of you in Pennsylvania right now are the swing vote. My goodness, you must be getting just drowned. I feel for you.
Ben, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. That is I had a moment about a month ago where they said we're only 2 months from the election. I was like, that's pretty good. I feel good about that because it wasn't ramping up, and now I'm like, it's been 7 months since I heard that commercial a month ago.
In honor of that season, my wife and I watched the campaign with Will Ferrell the other night and laughed our butts off.
That'll do it for another hour of the Under the Hood Show. The phone number to reach us, 866-594-4150. Thanks for listening to the Under the Hood Show. All right, this is the after show. There's not much after show today.
It's after.
Ben, are you still there?
Yeah, actually.
Okay. I have a friend who, this is what I was, when we were up against the clock there. I have a friend who is looking at Nissan. He was looking at new Nissans. And another friend of ours said, wow, you must like those Nissans. What? You keep getting them, but how, why do you keep getting them? He said, this will be my third since high school. He's had two.
Yeah, they're really, I feel like they get skipped over by a lot of people. A lot of guys are like diehard Chevy or Ford guys or Toyota guys. And honestly, my first job when I was 14 was detailing cars at a Ford dealership. So I was a Ford guy until I got to be about, I think, 25. And then I got a really good deal on a Chevy, and I thought Chevy was a great truck. And then I fell into this Nissan because it was the best priced vehicle. I bought it, trying to think. I think I bought that 2012. I think it was 2016 I bought it. Had 20,000 miles on it. I put 164,000 miles on it in 3 years, and the only thing I did to it was routine maintenance and put a battery in it. I mean, it was like a great truck, and I took that thing hunting all over the place. You know, I drove out to Wyoming and Colorado in it. And, it was such a good truck that when it came up again, I started looking again, and you know, you can't beat the price of them, really. They're cheaper than a Toyota. They're about the same price as a Dodge, but I think the quality is a lot better. And they got a nice, powerful engine in them. It's a good truck.
They're
I'm
pretty
really happy
good,
with
but
it.
we've done a number of engines in them at our place. You know, not as many maybe as a few others, but when they do go bad, if you have to put one in it,
I
you'll
bet.
know it because your wallet's going to be empty
Yeah.
for a long time. They're very expensive. Like
Could
just
imagine
the,
that,
the
yeah.
used engine itself for that is like $7,800. It's crazy money.
Oof.
But they don't fail very often. I would say half as much as the next leading supplier of gas engine vehicles.
The only thing my buddy had, the one he had in high school that he had for however long, it smelled funny.
Smells like
Smelled funny inside. We used to blame him until another friend bought one and said, mine smells funny too, like yours.
it's not funny. It's just different cars have a different smell. Like a VW has theirs, and
Yeah.
the Toyotas had and the Nissans they had a different, and it comes from the manufacturer of the plastics in the vehicle. They have different.
Yeah.
I
In
can still
summer,
smell
it
it in my
used to be
head.
weird.
Is it weird? Am I the only one that can smell things in my head? I know what a Volkswagen smells like right in my head. I can smell
almost
it. Just by
everything
thinking
I
of it.
smell, I use my head.
Just
No, but
no,
can you
I'm-
smell it
Can
now?
you think about it?
I know.
Can you think about the way of 60s, 70s Beetle smells in your head?
No, but I do have other things that instantly, yeah.
Broccoli?
I totally, yeah. The old drums,
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Old-
you're following me.
old stereo equipment.
I
I'm
have
working
two
on-
friends with Teslas that have now surpassed 120,000 miles on them.
Wow, okay.
Model S, both Model S. You know what they've done to those cars for maintenance, Chris? They've had both of them both of them have had them over 6 years.
Lots of tires.
3 sets of tires
Uh-huh.
each. And one of them has put cabin air filters in every year because they said you should put air. The other one hasn't. They're just like, it's fine. I don't need to. That's stupid. That's
That's it.
all they've done to the cars. That's it. They've had zero maintenance at all. So their cost of ownership, they say, are good. One of them lives out of town, way out west of town. And all they do, they drive to work, they come home, it still has 96% charge. So they plug it in to their low voltage charger. It's charged in the morning, then they go to work, and they're driving like 28 miles a day each way to work. So they think it's good. In the wintertime, it's twice as low. They said it's about 75% when they get home, when it's like below zero out with everything running.
We still got Ben on the phone?
Crazy.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Ben, you hanging out with us?
He's still there.
He's still there.
Yeah, he is still there. Ben, I was going to say that where we have seen some problematics with the Titans is
rear
with
end.
with the XDs with the diesels.
Ooh,
That was kind of a tough spot for Nissan. Their Cummins, I mean,
don't buy a diesel.
great idea, but we have also seen folks around here that are not legal, I'm sure, but they've tuned those a little bit different and they love them, but they've changed them a lot.
Extra deleted.
Yeah.
Extra.
But that's not for everybody because that's
Right.
that's risky anymore. There's a
Yeah.
lot of manufacturers and really nervous about, or consumers really
For
nervous
sure.
what's going on out there right
We'd
now.
stick with the gas, but I'd check that transmission fluid just to see,
Yep.
give it the old test and see what she looks
Yep,
like.
and they had one. What was Greg's? Was his a valve or?
Jones, yeah, it was a valve.
And that was, we found a common thing. If they didn't catch them during the warranty period, they had number 7 valve or something was pretty common.
We've seen them drop and crack the head. They hit so hard in there. So,
But
but to
that-
look at the rear end too. Make sure it doesn't start leaking because a few of them we've seen if we put rear ends in, we put more rear ends than we have engines.
Okay.
You know, so it's like 5 or 6.
You're getting
engines
the full under the hood experience here today, Ben.
Yeah, I like it. Good.
Thanks
yeah,
very much.
with this 2020, there's not a whole lot of them. You know, you don't hear a whole lot about them, and I was just wondering what I'm getting into now that I'm getting some miles on it.
Mhm.
We see them
So I
come.
appreciate it,
We
guys.
see them come in here that have been wrecked finally, and we're getting it from a salvage situation, and they're 150, 170, and they seem fine when we start them up and do the tests on them.
Sure.
Other than they don't look good.
Right. There you go, Ben. Thanks very much for the call. And thanks for listening.
Yes, sir. Thanks, guys.
Tell your son we said hi. I've been thinking about this now. And I've mapped this out a little bit. If I end up getting an electric vehicle, I think I have found an outlet and a place to run the cord that I can plug it in at work to my work building and no one will ever know. I've kind of got it mapped out where there's one outlet because we used to have a lot of stuff plugged in outside and now we don't.
Oh, yeah.
And right? And there's one outlet that's kind of hidden and there's a parking spot that I could run like a 50-foot cord.
Why would you need to?
Shush.
Free charge?
What do you mean? Why would I need to?
Well,
You have to they have to charge.
You charge it at night. You'll be fine.
So
Or
Yeah, I know.
yeah, I'm just saying.
I'm going to put locks on our outdoor plugins at work. And here's why.
Yeah.
I have had 3 people now with electric vehicles that have parked their car there to be serviced. And these were for little stuff. One of them was like a door lock thing. The other one was an oil change. And I can't remember what the other, I think the other one turned out to be an AC. It was an AC check is what it was, but we couldn't service it because of what was in it, because it had the heat pump type thing. But they plugged their car in. They just pulled up and they plugged into their low voltage charger into the plug in my building. So if I'm doing an oil change on a car that was like $48, how much do you, and I'm already losing money by doing just an oil change because they're cheaper than what they actually cost. What do you think it cost me for that thing being plugged in all night long? I'm like, and they just assumed it's okay. Just
fine.
plug on it. No, it's not. It's everything costs money.
That's why you got to find the hidden outlet. I mean, I've planned this out.
There you go, Chris.
I think that's kind of, in a sense, I mean, I find people are going to do what they do. It's a little bit rude just to plug into somebody else's power.
Now, if every one of those would have asked me, hey, my car's got a
little bit
really,
low. Can I plug
really
this in
weak
overnight?
battery, I would have
Just
said, that's because you were dumb and you bought an electric. No, bought that type of electric car. But no, I would have said, yeah, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
This time it's fine.
Then what if you didn't know? What if I worked there and every day I plugged in, you never knew? You would never get upset.
I'd know because I know what my electric bill is.
What about
every
when
month.
they found out and they didn't know how long it had been or how much it actually cost them or all the mystery that would be behind it?
I would go, oh yeah, I just started doing it.
You're not dumb if you bought an electric car. You're dumb if you buy a certain kind.
I just did it like I've been doing it for like the last week. I had, I'll get this. This cord, it was sitting out here, this old broken.
It's for the Christmas lights on the tower.
This cord that's been sitting here for 2 years and looks cracked. Yeah, it's just coincidence. It's an old cord I had. All right, that'll do it for the Under the Hood show. You got anything to say about Barrett Jackson next week?
We're going.
Okay.
Yay.
Yep.
And the phones will work. So you can start calling us right now and leaving those messages. We're going to take them with us and we're going to be calling you.
866-594-4150.
And it will be at a later time in the day.
When do you think, what days, what times are you thinking?
Well, it's going to be Friday.
Okay.
Friday's going to be the day for sure.
Okay.
Next Friday is when we're going to be calling. Actually, sometime during the day today, they're going to call me and we're going to know that, Paul Erickson says, all my customers plug in at my shop. Well, yeah, Tesla guy. Anyways, he did have our show. It popped up. His car suggested us on the radio, so it must have been listening to him. But we'll be there on Friday. So next Friday is the 11th. That's when we're going to be doing it. Okay. And it's 2 hours behind, so we won't be starting the show any earlier than
normal.
Probably 10 a.m. So we're talking noon Central. Okay. 1 o'clock Pacific. So it's going to be later. And we might be doing it as late as 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which is 5 o'clock Friday night Eastern time. So we might be catching more people. So they're going to give us that exact time. Look on our website, look on our Facebook page, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram. You'll see the time that we'll be broadcast, and I'll put that up there. So you could call it live, but you could still, call us. We'll call you. Answer the phone if you can.
You can send us a message on Facebook too. You just send it and
we'll
check that for.
Yep. But we'll be
calling.
We'll be hitting that, and we'll be doing a lot of stuff. We'll be interviewing a lot of different people, posting those as separate podcasts. We'll be posting a ton of stuff to YouTube, ton of stuff to Facebook. We'll be dropping it everywhere, so you'll see us. Then we'll be doing some walking around and just us being us. Who knows what we'll
I'll be
do.
sending pictures to my wife.
We might go for we might hop in a Waymo and go for a ride and see if we can See if what we can do to disrupt the Waymo. I don't know. We might pull some stunts while we're there. I don't know. There'll be some wives with us, so we might do some crazy stuff.
Okay.
I don't know what. We might, try to destroy one of Jeff's, like his Cybertruck. He says he's got insurance on it, so who knows? Which is faster, the rental Tesla or the Cybertruck?
Why would you say that?
I
mean, I'm all for it, but why would you say
when we're I got to go back on something. I know we're about done, but let's just say Russ had a place at his shop outside where he kept gas cans with gas in them, just in case.
I do not.
This is not true, but just had it outside and they were there just in case we needed them.
For us, for our lawnmowers.
Yeah, and when people came up, they saw the gas cans and they just decided to pour them in their car.
That's the exact same thing as plugging it in, isn't it?
Everybody would go crazy.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, kind of.
Yeah, kind of.
Not quite as extreme.
No.
Why does it feel different? As plugging in the car and not asking somebody. I'm not mad about this. I'm intrigued.
Should we get one of those you put in the quarter to make the bed vibrate in the old hotels?
Yeah.
We'll put quarters in and you get a timer.
There you go.
The old clicking one. You turn it.
They have those.
It's charging your car.
Do them. When I was a kid, we used to do that at the tennis courts.
I'll bet you money,
You had
Chris.
to put a
I could
quarter
look
in and it would
online
turn
right
on the
now.
lights.
There is probably you could maybe I bet even Amazon you could probably buy a box that bolts to your wall that you put a credit card or something in and it charges people
100%. Well, chargers. I mean, you could put in a charger.
Yeah.
A credit card charger.
Yeah. That's how so many of them work.
And they charge you only charge you.
Just imagine pull up and say, "Oh yeah, by the way, while I was here, I poured 5 gallons of gas in my car. I hope you didn't mind. I saw it sitting there."
I don't like your tone, and here's why. Because it makes sense. It makes sense.
People
you make
always
a very
get
good
angry
point.
when they're knowing when they know they're doing something
You're
wrong.
making a very
and they've
good
got
point,
caught.
and
At the end of the day, if we got a customer,
I don't want to hear that.
If we've got like Russ said, if we've got a customer that we know well and they've been coming and they want to plug their car in, we're going to tell them plug your car in. It's going to cost like $150 overnight probably, or something. But I don't know. Yeah, who knows? I think what does it cost? Like $12, $14 to charge one from full at your house.
Well,
they figure.
I have a question.
Well, if you plug in an electric heater in your bathroom and you run it a lot, have you seen what that does to your electric bill at the end of a month?
Yeah.
No, you.
Hey, I've got.
But you know.
No,
what
I
he
do
means.
know the house. Here again, I say these things, and you look at me like I don't. We're restoring the house that I grew up in, and we are just now removing all the electric baseboard heat.
Oh.
And I remember if you took that heat, and we knew growing up, if that heat went over a certain degree, the electric bill just went woof.
Yeah.
And we couldn't turn the heat up. And
When I was growing up, we had a 28,000 BTU window air conditioner.
Oh yeah.
It was a monster.
28,000 BTU.
They're about this big.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
220, big
huge.
plug in the wall.
Yeah.
It had the giant, and it was
Early mini
bolted to
split.
the house. And my mom's rule was we could only turn it on when it was over 95 degrees.
Or she said so. Or when she said
Yeah,
so.
or when
she
got
wanted to
home.
turn it on.
When she got home. And so we used to call the time and temp number over and over, just praying it got to 95.
Doo-doo-doo.
And
At
then
the town, the
my
time will
brother,
be-
who was in high school at the time, he was like 15. We were little kids. He walked in one time and it was 91 and he turned it on. And we were like, it's not
Don't do
95. And he's like, don't tell mom.
Don't do this.
And so we didn't. It was great. And then, yeah, it was great. We had air conditioning because Eric was the oldest and we were mum on it. He didn't get busted. We didn't get in trouble, but we could have busted him. That's always the best. If you're the youngest, so much stuff happens that it's just free trouble. There was so much trouble that we got in that I was part of, but I had no culpability. It was great.
Free trouble.
That was one of the great things about being the youngest in the family was you got a lot of free trouble. I got more of my own for sure.
You want to hear about some expensive trouble?
Yeah.
October 3rd, from the U.S. Naval Observatory's Master Clock, Park National Bank time, 12:15. Current temperature 67 degrees.
You just remember the number? Is that
No,
what
I
that
just
was?
I just Googled it. I
Oh.
thought that would be fun. That's what we used to do when we were kids,
Uh-huh.
Chris. It's
Yeah.
874-0000.
Here's expensive trouble. Producer Doug just forwarded us a text link to a story, and this is intriguing if you're interested. Michael Jordan his 23XI racing team is suing NASCAR for antitrust over their charter program that only allows so many people to have cars in the series, and they control that real close. And they couldn't get to terms with. Everybody kind of wondered why they walked away from negotiations, and they could not come to terms on the charters and what they cost. And all the other owners like Hendricks and the other people said, hey, this is kind of the way it works. You got to do this. And his team said no, and now they are suing NASCAR. That'll be interesting.
It's like, why does Hendricks get to race and we don't?
So that'll be interesting.
Shouldn't they
to see
be
what
in the
happens
charter
there.
as well, right?
That was thanks for forwarding them, Ed. That kind of
interesting.
They said the lawsuit is going to force NASCAR to pull the curtain up on their finances, which they aren't going to want to do.
No.
And we're talking about another guy that he could put his legacy on another sport for making a huge difference, or destroying it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you got in anything, if you've got, let's say you got room for 10 people, and 8 of those people have always been there. If there's like the lottery comes up to see who the other people are, why don't the people that have been there forever get thrown into the same lottery? They should have the same thing. No room. Hendricks, you're out.
Here's very interesting.
Here's a news alert. NASCAR's moving to Switzerland. They're putting they're going to incorporate in Switzerland, like F1 and
like
FIFA.
Elon Musk. FAA, I'm sticking it to you. I'm moving offshore.
Yeah. So anyway, that's
interesting. Yeah.
Text. We have to see what happens with that. See if that leads to a settlement. And it said I browsed through the story quick, and it said, if you think this means we want to move from a D deal to a D plus deal, that's not what we're looking for here.
Wow, that's all right.
Yeah,
that could be interesting.
I don't think he's the kind of person that's going to settle.
Well, he said what the story said. It's
he wants to do what's right.
Michael Jordan said this is personal now.
Yeah, he's kind of known for doing the right thing, not the cheap
and
thing.
Mario Andretti's going.
Have you watched
Have
you watched The Last Dance? You've seen behind the scenes Michael Jordan if it gets personal? Yeah, I don't think NASCAR knows what's coming.
That's right. Yeah. You're exactly right. All right, there we go. That is the after show. Next week we'll be down in Arizona. If you're down at Barrett Jackson or you're close and thinking about it, come see us.
We're the guys with the black shirts with the giant under the hood on the back. It says under the hood. You can't miss us.
You really can't.
3 of us wandering around all over with under the hood on the back.
4 of us. There'll be 4 of us.
Oh, there'll be 4 with under the hood show shirts because I just had them made. But there will be no Barrett Jackson logo on our sleeve, which is fine. But
the short one is me.
There will be a Berkeley One Classics there though because they were generous.
That's the notice. If you see anybody with an under the hood show shirt on, there's one short person. The other 3 could be anybody. But there's only one me. I mean, and I'm not super short.
There is only one you, Chris.
Compared to you guys, I'm short. So if you see 4 people, you're one. You know what I mean? All right, let's go. Let's get out of here.
Yep, we
Ready?
got things to do.
We got to go to Arizona. Thanks, everybody.